Welcome to the Get Wealth Show, where we uncover the secrets to building real wealth through real estate from the people who have actually done it. Each episode gives you proven strategies, modern market insight, and actionable steps you can use today to build wealth through real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Michael Hoang.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Michael Hoang, and today I'm here with my friend Chris Bounds. Chris, how you doing, brother?
Doing great. How are you, Michael?
Doing well. Chris and I have known each other for a number of years. We've shared private lenders. We used to give workshops and speak at local events here in Houston, where we're both based. We used to also speak at self-directed IRA places together. And when I first got my real estate license, Chris Bounds here was my sponsor and mentor when I first started being a real estate agent. So it's great to finally have you on the show.
Absolutely. And it was a mutual friend, if I remember correctly, that connected us. So small world.
Yeah, in the intro of the show, which rolls before this, you don't get to see it. You know, I talk about the secret to financial freedom is your friends and your network. And it's kind of funny that you and I got to meet each other because of friends and network, because I was making it a regular habit to put on my calendar, to go to free meetup groups, to get out there, be in person, go to meetup.com, go to Facebook pages, start networking, get involved in real estate. And then when I needed something, the private money was there, the mentorship, the sponsorship was there. Later, when I got my real estate license, it was an easy introduction to you, and you're running a very successful team of agents in Houston through EXP, and we just kind of got connected. And while you and I are both investors primarily, and before we became licensed as agents, we're both also on the agent side of the equation. So I just can't thank our mutual friend enough for introducing us to each other.
Absolutely.
So, Chris, I know a lot about you. Too much. It's almost scary. But not everybody on the show has met you before. So you want to tell us who you are and how you got started in real estate?
Yeah, real estate investor, fund manager, flipped 200 houses or so with my wife and I. Got started back when I was in college. Currently, I'm more on the multifamily side, but still flip occasionally when we get good deals that come across the desk. And of course, we have some rental properties. You mentioned earlier a team of agent investors that I work with and help train to be investors to get them out of that production grind and on something that they can control a little bit. They have a little bit more control over their future. So, but got started, and I mean, if we go way back. I got started as a kid observing, I was always a sales guy. I was always out there looking to make money and selling candy and bringing stuff to school and selling to all my classmates. Some things I wasn't supposed to sell at school, not drugs or anything, not anything like that. But
I'm glad you specified.
No, nothing illegal, but definitely stuff the school didn't want me to bring. We'll leave it at that. But I did watch my grandparents. They had real estate. They had rental properties all over Central Texas, and then my parents had a rental property. And I remember going to the rental property in between tenants and helping clean out and like rake leaves and all this stuff. And then it was in college when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that was like the aha moment. Like, oh, okay, I understand how money works, and I get why wealthy people like real estate. I need to figure this thing out, and ended up finding my first deal. There was a little trial and error in getting that first deal, but it was a fun ride.
Well, you think you know a guy. I didn't even know half of that story, and I've known you for years.
Yeah. So on that first deal, I bought the book, and this is funny, especially it's embarrassingly funny. Like at the time I should have been embarrassed, but it's funny because I was just a kid. I didn't know. I say kid, it was 19, 20 years old. I think 20. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I read it. I'm like, I'm going to be rich. Now, if you've read the book, it's pretty high level. It's an overall theory.
It's not very instructional. It's not very instructional.
No, there's no how-to in there. It's a general concept on how money works. But I'm reading it. I'm like, I'm gonna be so rich. Like I'll never have to work again. And then after that, I was like, okay, what do I do next? And I didn't know what to do because the book didn't tell you what to do. So, and there was no Bigger Pockets back then. YouTube, I don't even think existed at the time. Maybe it did. It was just getting started. But in any case, I was like, all right, well, what I'm gonna do? I need to go. I need to go look at some houses. So I called this real estate agent up, and we started looking at houses. And then I think he very quickly realized, like, right, this college kid, like, how is he going to buy these houses? So he's like, you need to go get pre-qualified. So I go to this lender, and I make this financial statement, and the financial statement had assets for me, like my as far as my balance sheet, my truck. I had a computer. I had a desk. I had no debt. I didn't have any debt. I was a college guy. I didn't even have a credit card at that time. And then for income, there was nothing. I didn't have any income. I was broke, no job. And then I remember I went to the bank, and I actually handed this to the lender, to the local bank guy, and very professional on his part. I imagine he took that piece of paper and he went and left the office. I was still in there. He was probably laughing with his bank buddies, like, dude, this kid came through. Like, look at this. Dude, if I was that banker, I would have that on a frame for like the funniest time in the office. But in any case, I didn't know. So it turns out banks don't really like loaning money to people who don't have jobs. And then also turns out that real estate agents that don't understand real estate investors don't like working with investors, because you're going to go out and you're going to want to look at hundreds of houses, make offers that are ridiculously low. Almost all of them will get rejected in order to buy the one. So I realized that, and then I started realizing, like, oh, okay, these investors, they're buying stuff off market usually. That's how they're getting good deals. But took a class, weekend boot camp, learned how to buy pre-foreclosures, knocking on doors. Did that for 3 months straight on the weekends. While in college, driving from Texas A&M all the way to, which is College Station, Texas, to San Antonio every single weekend, knocking on doors all day Saturday. I didn't have enough money for a hotel, so I drive back and then drive there again, which is like 2.5 hours. I'm doing it on a Sunday, and it took me 3 months. Got my first deal, pre-foreclosure. The guy, usually if they answer the door, they slam it in your face in this situation, and that's if they answer the door, or they'll say some not so encouraging words to you. And this guy didn't do that, and it was the last stop. It was the very last house. I've been doing this and it was a business partner at the time, for 3 months straight. I was tired, and also starting to doubt, like, does this even work? Like, I know the guy, he showed me his checks, like it worked for him, like, but does this really work for me? So it was the last house, and it was right by the highway of where I would go home. And I'm like, maybe we just like cut this one and go home early. But I didn't. I did stop, knocked on the door, and this guy walked out, said the same thing I said to everyone else. And then he just looked at me and says, how can you help me? Now, at that time, I felt like the roadrunner that catches the coyote that catches the roadrunner. Like, he finally catches him. There's an episode I remember from my childhood where he actually catches him. And then he's like, well, what do I do now? Like, his whole career has been on the chase, and then he finally achieves his goal, and then he's like, well, what do I do now? And that's kind of what I felt like. What do I do now? So I called my mentor up, and then he came out and we closed the deal. That was my first deal. We bought a deal in San Antonio. I forget exactly what it was, like $15,000. This is 2005 prices. So I think it was like 15,000. We ended up wholesaling it for all in. By the time I split it with my mentor, I think I ended up making like $7,500, something like that. Or no,
Sorry,
no, I think it was 7,500 or 15,000. Well, one of the two. Numbers fuzzy over this time, but that was like $1 million to me at the time. It was like, this works.
Yeah, it does. Was that the purchase price was $15,000?
Yeah. It needed one. There was a ton. I mean, you've walked these homes; they've lived there forever. Tons of deferred maintenance, and there was some pretty significant foundation issues in this home, and it was basically paid off almost. Not enough for the bank. there was still a balance, unfortunately for them, and he didn't have a job, he had no income, and he was going to lose everything. So we gave him like 15,000. The home at that time is probably only worth like 90. It just needed a lot of work. Again, like when you say those numbers today, it just seems like crazy. Like you can get a home for $90,000. Back then, yes.
Yeah,
Inflation was
and
real.
the price of the home doesn't matter. It's all about like ratios and percentages, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we operate off. Doesn't matter if you're buying $1 million house, $100,000 house, or a $15,000 house, and it doesn't matter like what home prices do. You know, it's all a formula. We all use the same formula to figure out what we're going to offer on it, what we're going to pay. And in many cases, as you know well, the rehab and all that is funded from either our own cash or private money or hard money loans. So doesn't matter where we're buying or how we're buying it. And I get that a lot when I talk about like prices a long time ago, and they're like, we can't do that now. We can't do what you do. And it's like, guys, it's still happening right now. The
Yeah,
numbers are
and
just a little different.
everything is based on the current market conditions. So it was just at that time we were able to buy it for like 15,000. I think wholesaled it for about 30. So we had a decent amount of chunk of change for a wholesale fee, and then I split it with my mentor, who basically taught me how to make print money at that point. And that was the one and only deal I did with him. And then I went on to do 3 more deals that in that 12-month period. So ended up doing 4 deals before graduating college. I still had no job other than, I guess, being being an investor at the point. I was still a full-time college kid.
Wow. You did 4 deals before you graduated?
4 deals, yeah.
Wow. And you
Including
were
2 rentals. So 2 of them I held as rentals.
Oh, really? Did you buy them cash or did you do creative on that subject
So
to?
the first deal was a JV. So they the mentor brought the money there. The second deal we did sub 2. No, sorry. The second deal I did a double close. I didn't know what a double close was. All I knew is, hey, I got this house under contract. I need to unload it, or I need to find a private money lender. And I did find a guy that was willing to loan me money, but I was able to sell it in time, and I did a double close, so I didn't need to bring anything to the table for that particular deal. Third one was a sub 2. Fourth one was private money.
I see.
So that's a lot of different things going on. I don't necessarily recommend that everyone do all those kind of things when you're just getting started, but I was pretty ambitious, and I was willing to figure out what it takes to get the deal done. And there's basically my path. I think going back, holding the rentals was ridiculously risky for me, having no job and no ability to, or not no ability, because I was pretty creative, but I wasn't very liquid to cover expenses over a long period of time if necessary. So having the rental properties, although it worked out for me, and it was sub 2 at a 9.5% interest rate, we keep that in perspective. It it may not have been the best decision at the time, but it worked out. So
Yeah, I don't. Everyone's situation is different, and that's why you got to talk to your mentor or talk to your community, whatever tribe that you belong to. But in general, usually people's first deal should not be a rental property unless maybe they've got a high earning W-2 or they've got a lot of financial reserves. Um,
yeah, the
so I
reserves
like,
are really important.
yeah, reserves are very, very important when you're holding rental properties. And for most people's first deal, it's just best to wholesale it, maybe flip it if you've got a partner involved or if you have a good contractor. And that's why it's important to have your network. When I first got started, you had a mentor when you started, and I've told the story before, but the first off market deal I got, my idea was I'm going to wholesale this thing and then maybe I could possibly flip one day. And then I was like, if I flip enough, maybe I can hold rentals one day. But because I had spent some time putting myself in stronger financial position by house hacking, living for free, building up financial reserves, that when I got a deal, I thought I was going to wholesale, and I showed it to somebody and they said, you could wholesale that, but have you considered flipping it? Why don't you go talk to this private money lender, see if he'll give you a loan? And the private money lender looks at it and says, yes, this is a great deal. I would love to fund it for you. Have you considered keeping it as a rental, though, before you flip it? And I said, I didn't know you could do that. Who do I talk to? And he said, here's the number for a lender. Fill out an application with them and see if you can get like a long-term conventional loan on it. And it turns out the first deal I thought I was going to wholesale, it was a rental property added to my portfolio. But that doesn't mean everyone's first deal should be like that, because technically my first deal was a house hack, actually. So I get a little confused when I speak publicly. It's like, what is my first deal? Like, people don't want to hear about a house hack. They want to hear about you doing an off market deal with direct mail or something.
Yeah,
So
and if you can hold them, so the situation you just described, that was deal number 5 for me. So deal number 1 through 4, did it in college with a business partner, still held 2 rentals, and then business partner, we both graduated, they move off out of state, so I'm like, well, I'll hold these 2 rentals, and I get a high paying job. I graduate, move to Houston, get a high paying inside sales job. So I've got these 2 rentals. I don't really do anything with real estate for a while till I get married. Then I got married, dropped this bomb on my wife's lap, Jamie. I was like, hey, she knew I did the thing in college, but she's kind of a more conservative. You just get a job, you work, and you retire. And like 2-3 weeks into being married, I dropped this bomb on her lap. I'm like, hey, babe, I want to start flipping houses again, because I'm thinking of the future, like private school for the kids and retirement and retiring early, and also wealth building, stuff like that. So she was a little hesitant, but went along with it. And I did the only thing that I knew how to do: knock on doors for pre-foreclosures. It's all I'm a one-trick pony. That was it. So we started doing that again, and kid you not, first trip out, one of the very first homes we knocked on, we got that deal in Sugar Land, Texas. Bought this house for like $70-something, $80,000. And if you know the Sugar Land market today, that's like insane. But so it's all in perspective. Back then, like $80,000, we were going to buy it sub 2. Again, this is all I know how to do. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm just going to wholesale it. And I call up some local Houston folks, and one of the guys that answers, like, hey, I got this deal, and, I'm thinking of wholesaling it. I was going to maybe flip it. And then he was like, well, I own a hard money company. And so it was our another mutual friend of ours, Mr. Eddie Gant, and I didn't realize who I was talking to. So he owned a local hard money company, and I'm like, oh, so wait, you'll fund me 100% of the purchase price and the repairs? I don't have to wholesale it. Like, I can actually flip it. I'm gonna make way more money flipping it. So I'm like, all right, cool. Called the hard money company, everything checked out. And then we're going through this process, like we're going to flip the house. And then, like most large remodeling projects, especially early on, things cost a little bit more than I estimated, which was fine. I had a full-time job. My wife had a full-time job. We both had very low expenses. And we, somewhere in that time period of remodeling, we're like, we don't really need the extra money. Like, yeah, it's nice. We don't really need it. Why don't we just hold it as a rental? I mean, that's wealth building, like passive income. Why don't we hold it as a rental? So we ended up doing that. Had we flipped it, we would have made about $25,000 or $30,000. But we held it as a rental and made over $100,000 in gross profit 3 years later. So I call that the slow flip process. I coined that phrase later. I didn't really realize what it was, but looking how, especially multifamily syndications, they flip. It's just over a 3, 5, 7-year timeline. So I was like, what if you flip single family properties later on? I started realizing after doing some of these deals and realized, hey, these are our best ones. What if we just flip single family homes over a 3 or 5-year time period? So you remodel it, put a tenant in there, and then just put it on this path to start getting depreciation, getting the depreciation for tax benefits, getting the cash flow, and then you get your initial equity capture, and then you get the appreciation over time, and then you sell it at a lower tax rate because now it's long-term capital gains, not short-term active income, and all these things. And then every once in a while, you might catch some tailwinds too with the market. You can't plan that, but when it happens, it's nice to have owned them and then capture it. So we coined that phrase, the slow flip project. But yeah, that was a nice deal.
Yeah, my first off-market deal kind of went the same way. If I would have wholesaled it, I might have made 20 grand. If I would have flipped it, I probably would have made $50,000 or $55,000. And then I held it as a rental for a few years. It cash flowed. I'm not counting the cash flow in these numbers I'm giving you. We sold it for about $117,000, and we only put maybe 16,000 into it after the loan and everything was said and done. So if you're in the right position, it's good to hold real estate. I mean, everything works in your favor. The mortgage is being paid down, the property's appreciating, you're getting tax write-offs for you, your spouse, your business, depending on your situation. If you're a professional real estate investor or qualified real estate professional, and the tax code is like in your favor to hold properties. Not everybody can start by going right to that, but we should be trying to get to that as quickly as we can. But I love how that worked out for you, man. You ended up making 6 figures on a property that you held in Sugarland instead of what, $30,000?
Yeah, and the very next deal did the same thing, but it was 120,000. Like literally the very next deal, we were already in the middle of the rehab on this one, or maybe finishing up, and then so that second one, similar story. We're like, well, we'll just hold this one too, and the as fate would have it, or God smiled upon us, when we came to the end of that cycle, my employer had cut my pay by 50%. And while I enjoyed the time I was with them, I had this other thing going on. I'm like, I don't know. We just sold 2 properties for over $220,000 gross. Why don't I go do that thing full time? And then we had other rentals and a small multifamily at the time too. So hold if you can, but yeah, you're right. It needs to cash flow. It's got to make sense. It has to cash flow. Super important. And you need reserves. You need to maintain reserves for vacancy repairs, capital expenditures. Otherwise, a rental property can quickly become a weight around your ankles in the middle of the ocean, and that's not fun. But if you do those things and you do that right, and you buy it right, then it can be a nice asset in your portfolio. That all rental properties will have headaches that come up now and then, but they're taking time bombs for equity. And if you let that process play out over time, it will absolutely change your life from a financial perspective. You don't need hundreds of them. And most people, 3 to 5, and they're multimillionaires. They just have to let their tenant pay off their mortgage.
Man, I couldn't agree more. I remember one year back when I was still in the corporate grind, I did my taxes and kind of did the math on my net worth, and I was like, "Whoa, I made this salary this year of whatever it was, I forget." And then the equity I had captured in a couple of rental properties was like almost twice my income for that year. So it was almost like I had 3 incomes in one year, and that was like just blew my mind because there was no way in my corporate job that I was going to triple my salary, especially in a year or 2 or 3. That just absolutely wasn't going to happen. And wholesaling and flipping is great, but the only way you can do that is by holding assets, letting them appreciate, letting the mortgage pay down.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone needs something active to do. You got to do something active. Might as well make you money, whether that's a job or some side hustle. But in any case, while you're doing the active thing, do find some of that passive. So it's rich dad, poor dad. Like it really is just investing in how money works 101. Funnel your active income into passive assets. Keep doing the active thing. Eventually, the passive thing will meet or exceed your expenses. So now your risk to your lifestyle is substantially lower, because if your active thing goes away due to AI, due to layoffs, or injury, illness, or you just don't like it anymore, you can pay bills. But the longer you keep doing that, eventually, passive can become to a point to where it's substantially higher than you would ever even probably spend. And that's really what you would call true financial freedom versus financial independence. Independence being like your bills are taken care of passively, but freedom would be like, you can do whatever you want and it doesn't even matter anymore. Like you can just write checks and it doesn't have an impact on your daily life.
For me, the funnest part of being financially independent and real estate retired Going to Costco at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. That's the funnest thing. That's not what you think when you get into real estate. People think about exotic vacations, a nice
You beat
car.
the traffic.
Yes. Yeah, it is picking when and where you do what you do. And people ask me, we're coming up on Memorial Day weekend when we're shooting this here. And people ask me, like, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Nothing. I'm not going anywhere. Every day is a vacation for me. I'm not going anywhere. You think I'm going to pay like peak prices to fly on an airplane and fight to get a rental car and fight to get a hotel room? No, me and my wife can do stuff in the middle of the week when everybody else is working, when rates are low on things. I can miss rush hour traffic. I could beat it or work around it. That is not what I expected financial freedom or being real estate retired or whatever you want to call it. That's not what I expected to be the funnest part. And so far, that is a luxury to me, is going into Costco when no one's there.
It's nice. I've done it before, and I think it was like 8:30 at night. So I don't know if they close at 9 or whatever. And it was quick in and out. It was the fastest trip I've ever had in a Costco.
Yeah. So, what are you working on now, brother?
We have our investment fund, and we have our community, which you're a part of. So those are really the two projects, and they really go side to hand in hand, because real estate is you started this whole conversation off with, it's a networking industry. It's a people industry. So the more people you know, the more your wealth can grow, and you still got to do the work, and you got to extend the value first. And when you do that over a long enough time, then that value starts coming back. So as an introvert, I have to think of unique, creative ways to do that, because me just working a crowd out in person, it's a little bit more challenging for me to do that than some other folks. But I host a lot of events and workshops. You've been to many of them. Masterminds, and we got our online community, which really just helps connect me with folks that are actively doing deals, folks that want to get into the industry, and they're learning. And I get to partner with some of them, whether it's on a lending perspective, whether it's on like a JV perspective, on flips. But usually, if it's more on an investment, like actual partnership, it's usually on the multifamily side, and that's where our fund comes in, because we're looking to get a lot more units. We may, or pretty soon, we may end up coming, at least over the next 90 days, get some units in Birmingham, Alabama. And I think it's really prime market right now for multifamily going forward, because it's the with the current state of the market, multifamily has taken a little bit of a beating, and the residential. This, I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but residential fundamentals are strong. They're still strong. They were strong yesterday. They're strong today. They're expected to be strong for a long time. But the debt side and the way people were structuring these deals over the last 2 or 3 years, especially with pricing, it has put many deals into a struggling boat, and that's caused some problems, which is deflating prices, and that creates some opportunity going forward that you just right now we don't see with single family. So single family inventory from an on-market inventory has been increasing. There are more opportunities, and I am bullish about single family too. It's still harder to get a deal, but inventory is rising. I am seeing more opportunities coming in that standpoint, but it's usually not at a pricing. Um, Single family has not dropped 30% pricing. Let's just put it that way. Multifamily, on the other hand, has.
Yeah, there's rising inventory. There's some pockets of our city here in Houston where houses are sitting on the market longer, and there's a lot of opportunity to buy right now. The buyer has not been in control for a very long time in this market.
It's been a while.
It's been a long while, and it's
And
coming back around.
As someone who I flipped a house in Sugarland, like it's frustrating, because we all got used to, as real estate investors, we all got used to putting homes on the market, man, multiple offers, first week, first weekend, first 24 hours, and like just getting these home run deals. That was nice. But at the end of the day, fundamentals matter. And if you bought on fundamentals yesterday, you made a lot of money. If you buy on fundamentals today, you will make a lot of money. But if you're trying to be, fudge the numbers and squeeze things in where maybe you shouldn't, yesterday, yeah, you probably could have made money. Today, that's how you lose money. So having multiple exit strategies and being creative with your deal structuring, and then also just buying cheap. Back to the fundamentals, buying cheap, getting a really good price. That's going to help you mitigate risk. So, like, we've got a deal in Sugarland. We flipped it. Yet last year, I think I could have sold this house for about $300,000. There were comps to support that. Right now, we're sitting on the market. It's a little bit. It's like 270, or no, it's like 275. I think is what we have it now, and like almost no offers. And it's not that I don't think it's worth that. I just think the market is just not moving at all. Like, no one's doing anything. And because it's not like I'm getting lowball offers, I'm just getting no offers. So I'm like, all right, well, now we're looking into owner's finance. Now we're looking into renting it out. And, I'd rather rent it out than owner's finance, because I'm pretty sure that over the next like 18, 24 months, it'll bounce back. But that's not a guarantee. I just know that if I wait long enough, rental properties have, they've always treated me well. And time, if you buy it right, time heals even mistakes. So I don't have a mistake with this property, but as far as pricing over time, I can get the returns that I want by renting it out. But yeah, kind of summing that up, multiple exit strategies, buying right, sticking to your fundamentals.
And you're talking about Sugarland. Sugarland is a sub-market, right? It's a pocket of a larger city that we live in Houston. And while you've seen slower action on one of your properties in one sub-market, I had a property sell very quickly, a little bit over what we asked for. I actually got a couple of cash offers, but we didn't move forward with them. And so there are things moving fast in Houston, and there are things moving slow. It depends on your price point.
Yeah, that is actually a great point. So your local fundamentals matter. And by local fundamentals, I mean local, that submarket that your property's in, that subdivision that it's in. Because I was pulling comps on another deal that we were looking at in the Briar Forest area of Houston. And the comps on that area, they were 2 to 3 weeks on market. That's fast. That's very really fast compared to my Sugarland, where we're over 40 days and nothing. Like, so you're and I'm hearing from other investors in different markets, like Florida. A lot of markets in Florida, they're struggling right now. But there's other folks in Tennessee, especially the Northeast, where they're still in a ridiculously high like seller's market. They're still getting multiple offers, very fast sales. So know your fundamentals, and then also really know your local market and submarket.
Yeah, I had Joe and Jen Delafave on the podcast recently, and while they live in Florida, they're originally from upstate New York, and they're flipping up there, and they said it is just on fire. They're getting all cash, over asking, stuff selling in a week or 2 or 3, and because they know that local market. They're from there, even though they live in Florida, and they're flipping remotely. So there are pockets.
And the reason, do you know the reason for that? They didn't build. So
Inventory.
we built a lot in the South. Now we're still under supply from just a general demand. We're under supply, but we built a lot relative to what the supply we had. In the Northeast, they didn't. A lot of that's probably regulation related and just cost. So they didn't. So their supply problem is worse than the South right now. And then you add high interest rates on into the MX2, where it's now you get an affordability issue, so homes going to sit a little bit longer, and those can accumulate to where it's going to cause a little bit of softening. That's why in the South, buyer's market. Northeast, it's still in a lot of markets a seller's market.
Are you ready to get started on your real estate investing journey? Well, we put together free resources to help you get started. Check the link in the description.
Yeah, and so for anybody listening, if you want to understand what your submarket is looking like and what kind of inventory you're having, I like to call it the reverse pyramid. When you go look at comps, and if you're not a realtor, you can use Redfin, Zillow, there's free software. If If you want something a little more robust that's going to be paid software, you can find a link in the description. Software I use on my Instagram at Michael B. Someone. But whatever you choose to do, look at your sold comps up top, your pendings in the middle, and then your actives or houses for sale at the bottom. And if you have like 3 actives, 10 pendings, and like 30 sold comps in the last 90, 180 days, you got to imagine that that's a reverse pyramid in your mind. That means there's a funnel sucking inventory off the market. There's not much available, and a lot of stuff is either pending or sold. If you see the opposite of that, which is a pyramid, means at the very top of the pyramid, we have a few sold comps, a lot of pendings, and then a ton of actives. I would think differently about flipping in that market. But when I see that pattern, I think that's an opportunity to buy and hold. I think that's an opportunity to make offers that fit my buy box where I can get profits. And I want to hold because markets change. And I don't mean the national market or even the state of Texas. I mean, sub markets even change. And so anybody who's wondering, that's how you can go about finding how long do you think it's going to take for this property to sell? And if there's a lot of things in the market not selling in your area, you can get more aggressive with your offers. Like I said, the buyer is in control. In many markets, sub-markets now, the buyer is in control again after years of not seeing that.
Yeah, and watch that trend too. So going back to my Sugarland one, like when I first pulled comps when we were buying the property, there was maybe like 5 actives on the market. There were plenty of solds, maybe like 5 actives, and then today there's well over 10 actives. I think there's like 13 or 14 actives. So that happened while I was remodeling the property, and I'm actively watching this. I'm like, man, these homes are sitting. And you can't control that, but you can use that in your forward-looking guidance and how you're going to price it. Now, do you want to be aggressive on pricing? Maybe you still can. Really depends on how your market, your home fits into that market and the qualities it has and features it has. Maybe you don't want to risk it and you want to be a little bit softer on the pricing, and you're not trying to set records. You just want to move inventory and get a check. Maybe you put it in at a little bit lower price than you otherwise would have to reduce your holding costs, because holding costs can eat up margin like quick, especially if it's a higher end home where like your holding costs can be $5,000-$10,000 per month every single month that it's in your inventory. Like that kills profit.
Yeah, holding costs can definitely kill your profits. You can quickly go from 50,000 to 40,000 to 30,000 to why am I even doing this if you don't understand your holding costs and your holding time. A lot of new investors, they forget you have to have insurance, you got to pay taxes, you might have HOA, you need power, water. If you have security cameras, I like to use battery powered mobile security cameras. And so the properties that I'm rehabbing, I have a little like a little mobile hotspot. And so it has its own battery. And so I also have to factor for the fact that I'm providing Wi-Fi. I don't hook up Wi-Fi to the house. I put a little mobile hotspot in a closet, screw up a few Halo security cameras so I can see guys coming and going and protect my site for me. All that adds up. All that adds up. And there's a big difference between a 1-month holding cost, a 3-month holding cost, 6-month holding cost. I've had properties that I've turned around in 30 days. I've had my private lender tell me we've never gotten our money back so fast before. I've worked with my conventional lender or my long-term finance ahead of time, have properties underwritten as private money is buying them, and all they need is a signed lease and a first month's check to get refinanced and get my private lender's money back and get someone moved in. Your submarket, wherever you are, for anybody listening to this, may not be that fast. So make sure you understand your holding times. So, Chris, you have got, I'm really excited about this because I've been promoting this on my social media. You've got a workshop coming up on a deal you did.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if anybody's curious, they can go see it on my social media right now on my Facebook, Michael Hoang, or Instagram at Michael B. Someone. There is a, Chris here, he bought a house for 2.26% interest in Sugar Land.
Do that. Interest rates are 7%.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I always I've talked about this on the podcast before about choosing your belief system and choosing your reality. And I remember when I first got into real estate, it was like violating people's belief systems that I made their salary for the year doing one deal in a couple of months while still working a full-time job. And so it might violate people's belief systems to understand that you can get under 3% interest rates when people are being quoted rates in sevens. People think it can't happen or something illegal is going on, or I've had all kinds of pushback on this, but you're doing it. You're proof. You're in the house right now.
In the house right now, yeah. So I I got started doing this. I learned how to do this early on, and the first deal I did, buying a house subject to existing financing. Which, if you don't know what that means, when you're buying a house, typically, if they have a mortgage, you're going to get a new loan. You're either going to pay cash, but if you're not paying cash, you're getting some kind of loan, and your new loan is going to pay off their loan, and then there's probably going to be some equity, and they're going to get the equity, and they're going to get a check at closing. Typically how it works. You get a new loan and you pay your mortgage going on. So buying a subject to is basically saying, hey, you've got a loan on the house already, Mr. Seller. We're going to keep that there. And I'm just going to keep making the payments. And or in the case if they're behind on payments, like a pre-foreclosure, I'm going to catch up your loan, and then I'm going to keep making payments, and I'm going to improve your credit. And then for anything extra above that, like their equity, you would write them a check. And then that's whatever you negotiate. It's not market value. So in the case of here, it was like 10,000. Now, I got started doing this, and the very first one I did was 9.5% interest. And the reason why I did it is because I'm a broke college kid with no job and no credit. I couldn't get a loan. I actually tried. I was like, they're giving loans out to illegal immigrants, and all these. I see it on the news. This was 2005.
Self-employed people with no documents of their income. They were just making income claims.
I guess I didn't know how to fill out the form right. I know the story. I saw The Big Short. I still couldn't get a loan. So I got one subject to at 9.5% interest. It it cash flowed. Now, once my wife and I started flipping, interest rates were coming down and cash was cheap. I didn't really need to, even though that first one I was going to do subject to, I had it under contract subject to. We just ended up financing conventionally because I had a job and credit and I can get a really low rate at that point. Which I hate paperwork with conventional financing. So cash has been cheap for a long time. It hasn't really been a question. If I can get a ridiculously low rate, yeah, I'll get that. You can't do that today unless you're going to take over someone else's existing mortgage. And I don't mean assume. So you can buy a house, you can go and refinance it or finance it initially, and you can get your 7, 8, 9, 10% investment financing. If you want to do that, it just makes deals really, really hard to cash flow. If you want to get deals done today, your two options are: get a price that's very low, ridiculously low price. I'm always a fan of that. Or you got to be creative with how you're going to finance it, or both. So with this one, they had a rate 2.26% fixed. And I saw that. I'm like, there absolutely makes no sense to pay that off. So we came up with a deal, gave them some money for their equity, because they're behind in payments, caught up their payments. And I was like, this house is actually pretty nice. So we just decided to move into it. There was another guy, and you know him, he's in our community, and he got one. It was the mortgage was about 3.25%. And he called me, he was like, hey, how do I do subject to? And I was basically giving him the basics. And he was like, well, do you think I could wholesale it? Because I may just wholesale. I was like, yeah, you could. It's probably going to be a landlord. You could. And he ended up wholesaling it for it was over $30,000 that he got for a wholesale fee on this deal. So if you're looking to do it yourself and own these properties, great. If you want to wholesale it, there's people who want these kind of deals because they can't get it anywhere else. There's another guy you mutually know, and he was telling me he's had a sub-2 deal. The tenant is about to pay off the mortgage. He's had this deal for over 27 years with the same mortgage that's been on there this entire time. Not his loan. He bought it subject to 27 years ago. There's only 3 years left on this mortgage. The tenant's been paying it off the entire time. And again, he didn't use his own credit. He didn't fill out any loan applications. So that's the sub-2 workshop that we're doing June 20th here in Houston. It's going to be all day. a very, very deep dive, like nuts and bolts on how to do this stuff. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'll be there. I can't wait. Anybody who wants to attend, you can use the referral code in my social media. We'll also link it below, and or when you go to checkout, just use code be someone to get $75 off. And we will see you guys at that workshop. And if you're watching this in the future, where would they go to find what your current events are? Because this isn't the only workshop you're going to be doing. Where would they go?
No. I was talking with the business partner in the community on plans for the fall and into Q1 of next year. So we've got a lot of stuff that's in the hopper right now. So if you go to investedx.com, there's a community button. Click the community, join the community. It's free. We got a lot of like free training and free resources. And you'll see the current events. I have current events on the website as well, but if you go to the community, you'll make sure that's where you're probably going to get the first dibs and first notice on what's going on. Plus, it's a good opportunity to network with you, with me, with other investors in there, plug into the training and resources we have. And if you're someone that wants to join the team, if you're a real estate agent, happy to help you there. And we got a lot of fun stuff coming.
We do. And I just love how like the pandemic is over and you're restarting these live events. There's so much that you can get involved with now that that's kind of behind us. So I'm looking forward to you having more and more of these live events. You do a couple of them I really love. I love the Passive Wealth Club. Very nice location. I love that one. Is that for members only?
So that one, we're actually doing the workshop at that location.
Ah,
So you've been there, it's a nice location. It's on the 49th floor, Houston. And like, for those that are staying like VIP, like we're going to have dinner, we're going to have happy hour and dinner and like, you're basically going to see the Houston skyline at night on the 49th floor. It's amazing. Got amazing food, great people. So highly recommend doing the VIP if you can do it. But yeah, that location, I just love it, and we're going to do more events like that at that location. But there's some other locations that we'll do throughout the country too. So we got some other workshops that we're going to bring to other locations that are not Houston because I like traveling.
I do too. And I love when it's a tax write off as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then every month you do a podcast as well, right? But you have one upped me, and your podcast is live.
Live. So by live, it's recorded in front of a live studio audience. So what we did events, Jamie and I, we did events. My wife Jamie, for those who didn't know who her name. So before COVID, we did live events, and I always loved live events. Like again, I'm an introvert, but if I do a live event, if I'm actually the host, like I don't know, I feel more natural in my own house. Wherever we're hosting it, and helps me mingle, helps me network. COVID killed that, unfortunately. And then last fall, it was time to come back. I realized like we were all zoomed out. Like Zoom's great, digital's great, but that in-person connection, there was still the few events that we had done that were live were great, and everyone was so overwhelmingly like enjoying and really just soaking up the actual physical connection. And that's when we realized, all right, it's time to bring back recurring events. So we brought back the event, put a twist on it to host a podcast in front of a live audience with a guest, and then also add the interaction where we're asking questions, like the audience can ask questions on the show. And then, of course, we don't, because of Wi-Fi, and I don't want bad audio connectivity, we record it and we'll post it for those who can't be there. But those that are in Houston, we do it right there, and it's fun. It's at a great venue, nice brewery here in Sugarland, and it's a good time.
Yeah. So if someone's not in Houston, they wanted to watch the recordings of those podcasts, where would they go?
Yeah, so if you go to investedx.com, you'll see the links to YouTube and the podcast at the bottom. That's how you'll be able to connect. So it's called Real Estate Hacking Live. So the Real Estate Hacking Podcast, you'll be able to find it there, and then on YouTube.
And then if someone's in Houston or going to be in Houston and want to attend it, where do they find that? Same place?
Yeah. So again, investx.com, click on the link. There's an event section. Click on that link. Or if you're a member of our community, you'll see the link in there and get RSVP'd. That's a free event. We have local vendors that help support us because obviously when you're giving out free food, there's a cost to that. I do like charity, but I can't feed everyone. So we have local vendors, and these are vendors that I know personally, and most of them I've worked with personally, and they're there. They help support us, and they're also great for those who don't know these vendors to connect with, because there's people that, again, they've helped me. I know they can help you. If you're trying to do real estate, they're probably going to be a good resource to have, from vendors to lenders, insurance, um, uh, contractors, IRAs. Like, these are folks that you want on your team. So you'll get to meet with vendors. You'll get to meet with great people like you, like others at all different experience levels. And if you get out and network, you're going to find people who have done thousands, and I didn't stutter, thousands of deals. And then you also find folks they're just getting going, and they've got some money that they want to loan out, or they got some money they want to buy deals. And you never know who you're going to meet. That's why you got to get out and shake hands.
Yeah, TCA, Team Capital and Deals. And at your meetups, I love going there because you've got all of them. There's wholesalers there, there's agents there, there's lenders, there's people with money, both private and hard money, there's contractors. You've got everything you need to do a deal at your meetups. And every time I go, I meet somebody new. That's why I love being out there.
And they have a pickleball court, so who knows? Yeah, you hit it off good with someone who might be a good prospect for a private money lender. Just go play some pickleball. Have a little friendly competition afterwards.
I love it, brother. All right, we're going to move to the last part of the show here. So I like to give this little speech on every episode about our life, that we think it's a life of our own choosing, but we're really in this big, heavy, slow ship in the ocean, and we're rowing this boat. Imagine a wooden sailboat with like hundreds of oars, these old boats. And people think that they're on a course of their own choosing, but it's usually set up by their friends, family, where they went to school, where they grew up, where they went to church. And it's like how a boat also turns very slow. And I've talked to a lot of real estate investors and entrepreneurs, and I found what usually turns their ship far into entrepreneurship, it's usually a book. And so I ask every guest on every episode, what book either got you into real estate or changed how you ran your real estate business once you ran it?
Yeah, I mean, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's it's kind of the foundation for most real estate investors. It just really sparked a whole new thought and a whole new understanding of how money works. It's not a real estate book, but it talks about real estate because it's an amazing investment vehicle that anyone can do. So there's that. As far as business operations, currently it's Alex Hormozy's $100 million leads, $100 million offers. Phenomenal books, and I think he has them like free on his podcast. You can go listen to them. But I've bought them. I've done the audio. Just the guerrilla tactics on that is ridiculously good. Russell Brunson stuff, Expert Secrets is a good one. I've got a million books. Actually, investagents.com/books. Every single book on there I put on there because they're my top books. They're the top books that I've read and have really made a massive impact on my business. So I don't put every book on there because that would be long, but those are definitely my top ones. But yeah, $100 million leads, $100 million offers, and Expert Secrets. Those are kind of the three that I've been rereading for over a year now. Just really fine tuning how I craft messaging, how I craft offers, how I craft content to really just make it the most effective. How do I become a better communicator? That sums it up.
Yeah, I credit you for introducing me into the Russell Brunson series. I've got the three books, the three only books. Maybe there's more now. I don't know. It was a couple years ago, but I got the three books on the shelf behind me, and so I do appreciate you introducing me to those. And there was a couple others on the Invested X reading list that were really game changer for me. I say read, I'm cheating. I'm listening to Audible. I've got like 300 books on Audible, but
And
really good
a
ones.
trick to that, you find a book you really like, read and listen to it on Audible. You do both simultaneously. You're learning, like, I don't know what percentage, but it's way higher than just doing one of the mediums.
You took the words right out of my mouth. So while I have like 300 or maybe even 400 books now on Audible, the shelf behind me, for those watching on YouTube, I'm pointing to the shelf behind me. Um, it does not have 300 or 400 books. The best ones, the most impactful ones, I buy them on paperback. I read them physically, highlight them, fold pages, mess them up, whatever. And so the real good ones, I think it's important for you to read in person. And I love you said that you reread. I'm looking for a term for this, heavy rotation or rewind or something, but I have like a rewind list of books I reread every single year, just because
Yeah.
they're so good. And like Rich Dad Poor Dad's a good example. That was the first real estate book I read, and as famously, it's not a real estate book, but real estate investors always quote it. And I reread Rich Dad Poor Dad every year. The words never change in the book, but I do. And there's books like that that I have to keep in rotation because there's certain messages I'm not ready to hear or that don't provide value to me at that time. I read Russell Brunson's books at a time where I was not at a place where I could leverage a lot of that, and so I'm rereading them now. So just
Yeah, you
because
get
you read,
different nuggets out of them that way. But also I'm at a stage now where, like, early on I was a sponge. Like, I just wanted to learn everything. So I did consume a ton of books. Now I'm still a sponge, but it's less about quantity and more about quality. So I'm going back and rereading the ones that uh, had a great impact, or I need to understand deeper. And I'll still pick up new books every now and then, but I just, for me, it's deep. I want to go deep, as opposed to just pure quantity. So it really depends on where you are in your life. But I've done both. Just right now, I'm more on the quality standpoint.
love that, brother. And so we're also big believers of the Go Giver here. Another great book everybody needs to read. And so I tell everybody, if you're coming into this, if you think you're going to hold firewood in your hand and look at the fireplace and say, give me warmth first, and then I'll give you this wood, it's going to be a very cold winter for you. So I ask every guest on every episode, what can you give the audience today?
Yeah. So in the free community, so if you go to investx.com, sign up for the community, in there's a full course. Like, I paid $2,000 when I was starting learning how to invest in real estate for a course like that. It wasn't that course. It was a while back, but basically, the information in there, actually a much more watered down version. That's why I paid like $2,000 for that. I had that full course. It's free. It's completely free. And on top of that, I went and made a workbook for it. That's also free. So you can take the whole thing. It's something that you would be able to take, and if you know nothing today, you'll be able to take that and go out and start investing like tomorrow. So sign up. That's free. Take the course. That's free. Let me know your thoughts. Like if you think it can be improved, happy to look at any holes that it might have. But I think it's pretty good. Um, I know here's basically why I did that. Some of my best deals have come from investors that are coming up because they just they need a helping hand to pull them up. And then as you're doing that, they find deals, and like my mentor, once they get to that stage, they want that next helping hand to get it across the finish line. And that creates an opportunity for both parties. So I do that. Like, maybe we never JV on a deal, maybe we do. Regardless, um, it's pretty darn valuable, and I hope it helps you out.
I love that, brother. And shameless plug here. Some of those courses you were making, you asked me to review them, and I went through and took some of those courses, and I felt like I swiped a credit card for a high ticket item, and I couldn't believe some of the stuff you put in there for free. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it. I when I was doing it, I was like, kind of blowing away myself, because I was looking through a whole bunch of other stuff, really trying to make sure it was as thorough as I can make it in a in an online course. 'Cause, I mean, it's not like a college curriculum or anything, but it's as impactful as it possibly can be in the timeline that we have, and it's something that you can knock out in a day, or you can spend some time on each lesson and spread it out. But it's the keys are there. You just have to go grab them and then start opening up doors.
Love it, brother. And then what can the audience give you today?
Some really just by signing up to the community and networking, like do that and introduce yourself. Sign up, introduce yourself, and take the course, learn, and then get out and go start putting into action. That actually would be the number one thing. If you want to do something a little bit more and you want to actually like attend the subject to workshop, I'd love to have you there. I know you get that promo code and save $75 off. I'd love to just kind of hang out with you. It's going to be a really, really, really good day. Very, very. Let's put it this way: one of the guys that's helping do the deal, he's closed about 2,000 deals. He's been a part of actually about 5,000 deals, and can't say his name. So he's a secret mystery guest, but he's someone that a lot of people look up to, and being in the room with him for a full day is always good, regardless of topic. But when it comes to creative financing from someone who's gone through 2008 and came out with much better off than when he went in, not many people can say that. And he's still in the game, stronger than ever. He knows his stuff. So it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. It's a mutual friend of ours. At any event he's at, you're going to catch me there as well. So looking forward to seeing everybody at that workshop. If you're in Houston, you can make it. If not, will the replays be available anywhere in the future? What's your plans for that?
For pro members of our community and agents that are on our team, they'll have access to the recording. But it's one of those things. Subject to, you can learn online, but it's really something you need some interaction to get the fine details. Subject to is simple, but there's nuance, and the nuance can kill your deal or make it a wonderful deal. And it's the nuance that people usually screw it up. And when I say nuances, I'm talking insurance. Like, how do you handle insurance? How do you handle the HOA? How do you handle communication with the lender? How do you actually fill that contract out in a way that is going to secure your title? All these little things, they're not difficult. Like, I did it when I was 20 years old, 20, 21, however old I was. Like, I was able to do it, but I also had a mentor that actually showed me what to do in the very documents that use these things. So that's where that's why you really want to be in the room, because we'll be going over that kind of stuff.
Love that, brother. This has been an amazing podcast. Great to have you on. So you talked about the website quite a bit. Is there anywhere else that people can contact you? Just go to the Invested X
LinkedIn.
website?
So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I may not post a lot, but I'm on there a lot, reading through and commenting. So very active on LinkedIn, or really all the social medias. So Instagram and Facebook. So I go in waves. My content strategy is, it needs improvement. I go in waves, but I'm very active when folks are communicating. So the best way to communicate me was in the community. Like, if you send me in the DM community, I'll answer 100%. If you communicate me, outside of that, like on Facebook, Instagram, I might not. It depends on if I think you're spam. Sometimes Facebook thinks you're spam and it goes into a folder that I don't see for 6 months. So you never know. But I'm there.
Yeah, some of the content I've enjoyed the most of yours is your reels on Facebook, where you talk about deals in the past and you show rehabs on properties, and you get yourself in some pretty funny situations. My wife and I love that. My wife also is following your content. I love that, man. So it's Chris Bounds on Facebook and Instagram, or what is it?
Yeah, if you Google Chris Bounds, like you'll find me on most of the popular social media apps.
Awesome. And if anybody has any questions, want me to take a look at a deal, or if you need to get more information about anything we talked about today, I give out my cell phone number on every episode. So shoot me a text, 832-301-9672. This is Michael Hoang and Chris Bound signing off.
Each week on the Get Wealth Show, you hear real conversations with investors, entrepreneurs, and operators who are building real wealth in the real world. If you're ready to start building wealth through real estate, click the link in the description for free resources and tools to help you get started. And if you want more practical, real-world conversations, follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. We'll see you next time on the Get Wealth Show.